Alright guys, welcome to day 2. We are going to pick up where we left off after we made our stencil here. So this was steps 1 through really 5. I made a typo in the directions. It skips from step 1, 2, 3 all the way to step 5, which was using the threshold to turn ourselves into a stencil. So that's where we left off on day 1. Now on day 2, what we're going to do is start adding some color. So we are on step 6, titled Skin Color. What we're going to do is bring back the selection area of the cutout. So we want to bring back those marching ants we originally had. So you're going to hold down the control key and then you're going to click over here on the layers thumbnail. So the thumbnail means the little picture that actually shows up in the layer, not the layer itself, but the little picture preview. So you're going to hold control and you're going to click on that thumbnail, and then now you can see that our marching ants have come back, that little moving dashed line. So we want to have our selection back, and now we're going to make a new layer. So we're going to go back up to layer, new layer, and we're going to name our layers this time. For your All About Me project, I did not have you name your layers, but for this one we're going to add a couple of different layers that are going to serve different purposes. So we want to be a little more organized. We're going to call this layer Skin because this is going to be our skin color. So hit OK. So now you should see 3 layers in your layers palette: Skin, layer 1, which is our cutout, and then your background layer. So now we're going to fill it with a color. We want to have a skin color. So you should have the skin layer selected, and we're going to go to Edit, Fill, and then in this box that says Contents, we're going to switch that to Color. And then now your color picker comes up, and I want you to pick something that really does look like a skin tone. Don't make yourself green or anything. And the reason you need to choose a skin tone color, and you want to make sure it's a light skin tone color, is because the next step that we do is affected by what you choose for the skin color. So skin tones can really be found kind of somewhere between yellow and red, and again you want to find a light color. If we have a really dark complexion, try to find a lighter shade of that color, and you'll see why a little bit later. So I'm going to pick a lighter kind of beige color, and once I see one that I like, I'm going to hit OK and OK, and now this happens. So we can't see ourselves, and that's because the color layer over here is on top of our original layer. So remember, your layers palette acts just like a stack of papers. So what's on top is on top, what's on bottom is on bottom. So instead of adjusting, like moving our layers around, we're just going to change our layers blend mode. So there's 2 ways you can do this. On our skin layer, you can right click and select blending options. And then in this box that says blend mode, we're going to switch that to multiply. And then our stencil here comes back, but now it's filled with our skin color instead of just white. The other way that you can do that is if we're on your skin layer here, this box here that says normal, that's also our blend mode. So you can change that to multiply as well. So right click blending options, or just change this drop down box to multiply. So now we're on step 7, which is detail color. So we're going to do exactly the same thing we just did to make our skin layer, but now we're going to make a details layer. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go to layer, new layer, and this one we're going to call details. We'll say OK there. So now we have 4 layers: details, skin, layer 1, and background. So now we're going to start just painting in some more color. So we have our skin tone. Our skin layer is going to be just our skin, and our details is going to be everything else. So for that, we're going to use the paintbrush tool. That's right over here. Be careful, this looks like a paintbrush, but it's actually the quick selection. And then this looks like a paintbrush, but it's actually the history brush. So make sure you're grabbing the actual brush tool. And then if you right click anywhere on your picture, your brush settings will pop up. So we want a hardness of 100% and a pixel size around 19. You might need to adjust that based on the size of your picture. But you can see my mouse here shows the size of the brush. If I make it bigger, now it's a bigger circle. If I make it smaller, then it's a smaller circle. So pick a size brush that will work well for painting in your details. Now you're going to grab from up here, from your foreground color chip, you're going to grab a color and start painting the details. So I'm going to paint her hat first, and I'm going to make it a nice red color. And I will just start painting. Oops, and I skipped a step, guys. I messed up. So before we move on to the details, you want to make that blend mode. And this is why the blend mode is important, because now I'm painting over the black. You should not be able to paint over the black. I skipped a step. That's my bad. So details should also be multiply. So when you see your details and your skin layer, both of those should be multiply. So on details, right click, blending options, or switch that there. Okay, so now we should be ready to go. So now I'm going to be able to paint with my red and see it's not covering up any of the black spots. It's just painting the hat. And I'm actually going to make my brush a little bit bigger because I have a lot of area there to cover. So I'm going to just paint in the details. So now she has this nice red hat. And then I'm going to grab another color for her hair. I'm going to make her, let's make her like a blonde. I'm going to find like a bright yellow that's a little too green. Bright yellow here. And I'm going to fill in her hair. So notice this yellow is not as bright of a yellow as the one I chose. This is because it's painting over the skin color that you chose, that tan color. So that's why it's important for you to choose a really light color, because when you start painting in the details, it's painting over that skin color. So you want to make sure you pick something light enough that the colors that you choose are going to show up. Now, some of us, depending on the lighting when we took our pictures, most of your hair is turning out black, which is kind of like how hers is, but over here we have some highlights. So you can see the color, but see how I'm kind of going around her scalp here? It's going to kind of fake that effect of having hair. And I'm adjusting my brush size as I go just to make sure that it's looking okay. That's going to give the illusion of hair. So make sure you do add some hair color there. That will look nice. And I missed a little bit of her hat, so I'm going to go back to red and I'm going to fill this in. This is part of her hat here. So you're just going to be switching between colors and coloring in all of the details. So if you have, you know, a shirt with a pattern on it, like my model does here, then I'm going to paint in the patterns. And maybe it's not all blue, maybe some of it's blue and some of it's another color, but you're just going to paint in everything. So you want there to be just the skin color, and then all of the details are colored on your details layer using that paintbrush. So I'm not going to paint in everything. You guys are going to work on that on your own, but pick some nice bright colors. The brighter the colors, the better the effect this is going to have when you are all done. So you're just going to paint in your details, everything. Consider your shirt, consider if your pants are in it, those should be a different color, any accessories that you might have. So now that all that's left, her skin tone is that skin tone color. Now here's the last thing I'm going to show you before you're just going to continue painting in all of your details. This is part of step 7 and it explains what to do if you want the color white. This is done differently. So you can't just grab the color white from your color picker. It's not going to do anything. If you want white, you're going to have to use the eraser tool. That's over here. And you're going to switch back to your skin layer. You want to use white if you have teeth. Like my model here, she has her teeth showing, so I'm going to make her teeth white. So I'm now using the eraser tool and I'm on the skin layer. So if you're using white, that's the only time you're going to use the eraser, and you're going to switch to the skin layer instead of the details layer. And your eraser tool works the same way as your brush, where if you right click, you can change the hardness, which should be at 100, and you can change the size. If you can see the whites of your eyes, which we can here too, you want to fill some of that in with white. I'm going to have to make my brush a little bit smaller. Your eye color should be done. The whites of your eyes, if your teeth are showing, it should be white. So now I can switch back to my details layer, back to my brush. I'm going to make her eyes like a green color, and I'll just paint, make my brush a little smaller, and I'll paint there. Her eyes are now green. And if you want to have some fun with it, you should add some makeup too. So I'm going to grab a nice pink, and I'm going to add some pink to her lips here. All of our lips, even if you don't want to have makeup on, then just realize that all of our lips are a slightly different color than our skin tone anyway. So even if you're not painting in, you know, a lip color, you should still have a little bit darker just to add some contrast to show where the lips are. So I add a little lip color there. I could even add like some eyeshadow color to her eyes. So you want to fill in all those details. The more details and the more color you have, the better this is going to look when you're all done. So that's all we did on day 2, was we started filling in our details. So make sure that you save from here, and then on day 3 we should be able to finish this up.